Governor, yesterday you said that the decision to take the rest of the state of Michigan to phase 5 by July 4th couldn't be made this week. Does that leave the opportunity open for that perhaps next week? And what type of data do you need to see before you can take that step?
Yeah, so I mean, I haven't said that it's conclusive that we won't get there by July 4th. That's been my goal. But the fact of the matter is we're seeing some concerning increase in positive cases in different parts of our state. And so we're going to continue to watch the data. We're going to see what those positive rates are. We're also going to understand the context, and that's why the tracing is so important. For example, here in Ingham County, we saw 25 cases that were attributed to a bar in East Lansing. The fact that we know that is a good sign. The question is, where did those 25 people go in the last few days? Have they been out? Have they been at work? Have they been at home? What does the spread really look like? And how many people do we need to test to really ensure we understand how much this is spreading? And so that context matters. We had a pepper farm in Southwest Michigan where we've seen an uptick in COVID-19. Now, the fact that we know where it occurred, that's a good thing. But of course, we've got to continue to do that tracing and testing. So those are the kinds of things that we're looking at to understand whether or not we've got community spread or it's contained. And that's what will inform a decision that we have to make as to whether or not we can safely move certain regions into phase 5 next week.
Looking in the other direction, when you see these localized outbreaks and when you realize that some of them are community spread, or at least would appear to be, is there consideration of reinstating some of the previous orders to try to stop those outbreaks?
You know what, Rick, it's possible. I think what we're seeing across the country right now are different parts of our nation heating up. They didn't take it as seriously as we did on the front end. They haven't encouraged people to wear masks. And now they've got uncontrolled community spread. And so they're now talking about going into shutdowns. That's something we want to avoid at all costs. We know that COVID-19 is still here. The virus has not changed. What changed was our behavior, staying home, wearing a mask when we did go out, washing our hands, staying 6 feet apart. And that helped us contain this spread. But the virus is still here. And so the fact that some people are starting to drop their guard is very alarming. And that's why it's really important, no matter who you are, that you take this seriously. And if you are able to wear a mask, you should keep wearing one so long as you're out in public.
I talked with HHS Secretary Azar yesterday, and I asked him about reopening schools, and he indicated that they were very anxious to get that done, but said it would be done very much dependent on the local circumstances, something similar to what you said about perhaps schools starting, but if you saw outbreaks, you would be able to have one area closed down while keeping others there. We're going to get a blueprint for this coming up in a few days. How positive, how confident are you as we'll start moving back into the fall that school openings are going to be a real thing?
So if the people of Michigan keep doing what we have been doing, we're going to be in a strong position to resume in-person instruction for our kids. If we all drop our guard and we see uncontrolled spread, we won't be. And it's really that simple. And I think that's the hard part of this. We know what it takes to be successful. We just need everyone to continue doing their part. And if we do, we'll be able to get our kids back in school safely and resume in-person instruction. We know how important that is for their education and also for working families, also for the future of our state. And so it is our hope to resume. We will have plans for a lot of different contingencies, and that's what the work of that group is doing right now, and we'll have more to talk about next week.
The questions about unemployment continue for some people who have signed up months ago and still haven't received anything. And I know that you've got some dates certain for getting those cases settled, but is there any plan in place to make it available, some type of in-person conversation for people who have been frustrated by the online and phone lines?
Yeah, I know it is frustrating. And I know that people have been calling on us to open up shops. One of the things that we've seen, though, in one of the Secretary of State offices is that they did that and then they had to close right down right away because someone brought COVID-19 in. And that's one of the concerns that we have because this work is really important and we cannot afford to lose a step. We already have enough hurdles and challenges in front of us. And so that's why we look at this from the perspective as an employer about how do we keep our employees safe as well as make sure that the job can get done. We've gotten to about 93% of all of the claims that were filed. We're going to close out the last 7% between now and July 1st. We will have gotten to everybody. It is an aggressive timeline, but we've been pushing to make sure that we get there. It's frustrating for me, and it's certainly frustrating for people who haven't been able to navigate it. So we're getting there, we're making progress, and we will get to every single person, and they'll get every dime they're entitled to.